Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Source podcast. Today's episode is actually dedicated to International Women's Day, of course, celebrating the achievements of women. And we have two women on today's episode who have achieved a lot, and we're actually going to discuss a little bit about an organization called Women Empowered by Business, or WEB for short. I'm excited to introduce you to Judy Stolson and Tamara Loring. Judy and Tamara, thank you for joining the podcast today. So I'd like to just kind of, before we jump into it, just do a quick brief introduction, to each of you, and understand a little more about, your backgrounds, kind of, like where you're living currently, and kind of how you're connected to the Entrepreneur Source. Judy, I'll let you go first.
I'm Judy Stolson, and I live here in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. And I have been part of the Entrepreneur Source as a regional developer and as a coach for the past 22 years.
It's awesome. They're in Arizona then. And how about you, Tamara?
Yeah.
Excellent. Tamara Loring, currently live in Connecticut, and I am the brand ideologist here at the Entrepreneur Source. So it always makes me chuckle when people ask what an ideologist does. And I say, we get to dream and help people pursue their possibilities, options, and dreams. So I feel very fortunate that that's the space that I get to work in. My background, I was actually a student when the Entrepreneur Source found me, but I thought it was very intriguing because I always had that entrepreneurial itch, thinking, what would I do, or what can I do when I, so to speak, grow up? So that is why I joined the Entrepreneur Source. It's now 20 years ago. And I guess when your day job is your dream job, you just don't quit it. So I'm so glad that this has become a calling for me to not only be able to pay it forward, but having been empowered to be able to experience this myself.
That's great. Well, I certainly will talk as little as possible on today's episode because again, this is all about women today and about the achievements that you both have, and I know there's a lot to unpack there. Um, Judy, I wanted to start with you and kind of if you could take us through some of your professional background and everything that kind of led you up to where you are today.
Mhm.
Just kind of a brief overview of that would be helpful, and so we can understand kind of how all the building blocks that led to where your life is today.
Sure. Well, I've had 4 careers. So I started out of college as a CPA and worked with about 200 physicians in Phoenix, helping them with their businesses. And then, along with a group of pulmonologists, we started a medical equipment company, and we ran that for about 10 years in Phoenix, and really enjoyed being a business owner along a non-franchise business owner for those years, along with the physicians. From there, I sold that interest and went into corporate America in medical equipment still, and worked for a public company as a senior vice president for many years. And did a lot of traveling. When I was tired of being on an airplane every day, I looked for something new, and that's when I started looking for something else entrepreneurial, because I had kind of started in that arena as an independent entrepreneur years before. And so I found the Entrepreneur Source, and the rest is kind of history. It's been 22 years of pure joy. I love what I get to do every day. And so I try to make sure that my clients find something that they love to do every day when they get up.
That's awesome. I think that's really something interesting. Every time I've spoken with any team members from the Entrepreneur Source, most or all have gone through their own journey to get there in the first place, right? And so,
Mhm.
really understanding the clients that you work with because you yourself were a client or you yourself went through this, career transition, this alternative career change. I think that's really interesting. And it sounds like you were somewhat of a serial entrepreneur almost over the years. So that's
Right.
yeah, that's fantastic. And Tamara, you already gave a little bit of your background there. I don't know if you wanted to expound any more on that front. If there's anything else you want to kind of go through with your background prior to the Entrepreneur Source.
Yeah, there's not much of a background prior to that, right? I thought I was going to go into the hospitality industry, and I did dabble in that space for a little while. But I remember my father saying, "You know what? You can become anything in the world that you want to." And he was a professional chef, and so when I said hospitality, he's like, "Didn't you learn anything? Don't you see that we work 24/7? If you're in the hospitality business, you work when others are on vacation or when others are celebrating holidays." And even though I got to see amazing places in the world, ultimately that's what brought me to the United States. I'm glad that that was short lived because he was absolutely right. Right, it wasn't only the awful hours that went with the industry, but very fast I realized that you know what, I have a strong work ethic and I don't mind working hard. But if I'm going to work that hard, I want to have some equity in it too. I need to be
Right.
able to keep a piece of the pie. And very fast I realized that working for somebody else without being able to build some wealth and equity or a legacy for me and my family was not going to work out for me personally. So I am so glad that the Entrepreneur Source found me in my 20s, so that I could have the career I currently have.
That's awesome. Yeah, you definitely sounds like you both were very much go-getters, and you you were, you've always fought through every single level of your career advancement. That's already inspiring. So tell me how that all combines for, I know there's an organization, and I mentioned it earlier, called Women Empowered by Business. Um, I want, myself and then also our listeners and our viewers here to understand more about what that organization is and how that came about. Of course, it's, the title says a lot about it already. But how did that, Judy, if you could take us through how that organization started, and what really inspired that idea.
Well, in the early 2000s, both Lori Tell was an employee of the Entrepreneur Source, a leader there, and both of us saw that there weren't as many women coaches as men coaches. There weren't as many women in business really as men, but we knew that being self-sufficient, being a business owner was really freedom for women, and it was really a positive opportunity for the ones that desired it. And so we the two of us talked about how we could bring more women in, and Lori especially talked with Terry Powell, and Terry was always interested in bringing more women in. He's always been a real positive force for women. And so in about 2005, there were 80% of the training class was women. So Lori went to Terry again and said, I think it's time that we start an organization that would both empower, encourage, enlighten women, because women do things a bit different than men. They market different. They interact with their clients a bit different, and so that's the beauty in women and men, is that we're have some differences in our in the way that we do the same things. And so we wanted to have something for just women. Terry named it Women Empowered by Business, and has been a huge support to us. He's backed us every step of the way, and so we were able to have the webinars online for our coaches, but then we opened it up to other women too. So women in other franchise organizations, any woman interested in being empowered by business, and we have events at our annual conferences, that training classes, and just support. In addition to that, over the years, we have done a lot of charity work. We have raised money for foreign women in poor countries, in emerging countries that need seed money. And we have helped to raise seed money so women could start businesses in
Wow.
Tunisia and in South Africa. And we've also walked for Susan G. Komen for breast cancer for 9 straight years. We did that 60-mile walk, and I think we totaled around 85,000 of contributions to breast cancer. So anything dealing with empowering women, uh, specifically by business, but just women in general, has been our mission.
Wow, that's awesome. So you mentioned in there that you started, there was a minority of women with the Entrepreneur Source doing coaching and that sort of thing. And then by 2005, I think you said it was 80% were women, right?
No, 80% in that specific training class.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Yeah. Well,
And, and
that's a huge change though. That's a, that's a huge difference.
right.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
And Tamara, you'd have to tell us how many women to men ratio there is today. I don't know that, but I know there's a lot of women in Entrepreneur Source. I think that I was the first woman coach, and I was the first woman regional developer. But that's a long time ago, and things have greatly changed.
No, you're exactly right, Judy, right? I mean, when I joined 20 years ago, I think we could probably count on one hand how many women were in our organization. And it just always puzzled me because it wasn't welcome to women, but business ownership and franchising, I think, was just very, very much male dominated. So, yeah, it was exciting when we had certain classes where there were more women than men. But over the years, and this was actually interesting, I would have guessed that right now we're about 50% women versus men, but it's not actually true. It's 30%, which I found interesting because even if you look at small business owners and franchise owners and franchising today, it's exactly the 30% mark. So it's grown from what it used to be when you and I joined the Entrepreneur Source, Judy, but it's not quite where I thought it would be by now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. But it sounds like it's headed the right direction. Definitely. So that's amazing. So it's not only just the women supporting each other, you also are doing things in the community, um, that are making differences in other women's lives. Even if they're not part of, web, right? Like, like you mentioned, doing the fundraising for overseas, for emerging countries, for, raising money for cancer, all sorts of things. Yeah, that's awesome. So how does, if there's a woman listening today who is either a business owner or an aspiring business owner, how would they go about getting involved with, not only web but the Entrepreneur Source, and like how do they become a member of everything you all have going on?
Yeah, I'd be happy to take that. We believe that everybody has a dream worthwhile pursuing. And at the very least, align yourself with somebody like an entrepreneur source coach, a career ownership coach to kind of help you ideate what's possible. Just help you look at things from a perspective that you maybe have never considered. So the easiest way to get connected with us is through the entrepreneursource.com. So entrepreneursource.com. And then you could become more involved with web and women empowered by business. But I think first and foremost, surround yourself with somebody who's going to be a dream champion for what you're looking to accomplish in life.
Yeah, and I think the question a lot of people ask will be, what's it cost me? Does it cost them anything to, go on the entrepreneursource.com? Is that something, are you gonna collect up front, or how's that all work?
Well, I'll take that one. we we have the great joy of being able to offer our coaching uh, um skills and abilities for free. So people can come in. There is no cost to our services. Um, we are compensated by the franchisors, and people always ask that. They always want to know how we are compensated, but we are fairly compensated, and so our interest can be totally on the client. And I think that's what makes this such a worthwhile um, pursuit, is that we can find out. We don't tell people we don't tell our clients what to do. We help them create their own vision, and then we guide them through finding how to accomplish what they want for income and for lifestyle. And that's the beauty in what we get to do. Everyone has a dream inside of them, and our job is just to ignite that dream. So we don't tell them what their dream is, but we have methods to uncover their dream so that they get to get it out into the open and then pursue it. So there's no cost. It's free, and there's no pressure. Again, there are people that go into business that are our clients, and there are people that don't. But I would like to say that every client that goes through discovery with us, grows and learns something about what's important to them.
Right, for sure. So, and you probably, and I mean, I guess this is the question: is do you see a lot of women coming from different backgrounds? Like, I imagine you probably deal with women who maybe they've been in and out of the workforce over the years, right? Maybe they left the workforce for for having children, for example, or maybe there's women who've been climbing the corporate ladder, who are burned out on that front. I'm just curious. I mean, is everyone welcome? Is there a certain background that you look for? I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who might think, like entrepreneurship or business ownership, like it can sound a little intimidating if you've never done it before. What's your advice to those people listening?
Well, actually, my advice is that you don't know what you don't know. And so the best idea is to engage with us so that you can find out more about what the possibilities are, what options are out there for you, and find out if it's the right thing for you or not. It is not the right thing for everyone, and that's the beauty in it. And as far as your question about who we target or who is best suited for this, all of the descriptions that you listed are true. So women that have been out of the workforce because they've raised a family, women that are tired of corporate America, women that just want to see what else is possible. They want to compare and contrast what they're currently doing with what the possibilities are. We know with the pandemic that women left the workforce to have to homeschool their own children or change a whole bunch of things up. And so those women are coming to us too. They're saying, wait, we kind of liked being at home and having more time with our kids, actually, and mostly having more flexibility. The other thing that entrepreneurship allows women to do is have no ceiling on income. So you have the possibility to build something. You have the possibility to build equity, and you just have a lot of possibilities. It also comes with some drive, some designing what you want it to be. And that's the beauty in all the options that we have available to people, is that some can be hands-on, some can be hands-off, off-site management, some can be multi-unit management. There's so many possibilities. Some can be home-based, some can be retail-based. It's what's best for the woman as well as the men. I mean, we have just as many men that are battered out there in the workforce that we get to work with every day too. And so it's quite a privilege to get to talk to women that are just pursuing, what's going to be the best fit for their lifestyle, income, equity, and what they like to do, and what aspect of business they like to do. So like I said, I love to see people find something that when they get up in the morning, they're really glad they get to do that aspect of their life, that work aspect of their life.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the Entrepreneur's Source coaching is that it's not everything you just described, right? It's not a I think people get kind of nervous about, for example, like recruiters, right? Like career recruiters, and it's completely opposite of that, if I had to be frank, right? It's not this pressured thing where this recruiter's like pushing you through this thing really quickly and just trying to find you another job and getting you placed as quickly as possible so that they can get their commission. It's not, not to completely, I'm sure there's great recruiters out there too. But I do think that at first that might be some of the hesitancy some people might have is, well, I don't want to feel this pressure. What if I have this discussion and I don't want to switch jobs, actually, like what if I don't want to make this change? And that's fine. Just like you said, right. It's more of this process, this exploratory process of uncover, of you being a third party and helping uncover some of the layers of what really, what those deep down, like what those goals are, not just the next job or the pay or the, but more so what lifestyle are you trying to support? And I think that's what makes the Entrepreneur Source really, really unique in the end.
So what I like to tell everyone that I'm speaking to, especially women, that we create a safe environment for them to just explore, to just find out what is best for them, to just learn the possibilities. When we don't know what's available, we don't know if that's going to be right for us or not. And so it's a safe environment because no one's going to push them. No one's going to be upset if they decide not to do a business. Actually, I let them know that there's all kinds of end results to our coaching, and one of them is finding a business and getting started. But there are others, and they will know what's right for them. They just are giving themselves the opportunity to learn what's right for them.
Yeah, and if I can add to that also, Judy, right? It's sometimes people have self-imposing limiting beliefs. I remember myself having that too, right? My dad said, "Well, hey, Tamara, if you're tired of working for somebody else, work for yourself." And I'm like, "But I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't have this idea that I want to take to the marketplace. What am I going to do?" And so then you put yourself in the buckets like, "Well, if you don't have this idea, you need to work for somebody else for the rest of your life." And that is not true. What the Entrepreneur Source has helped me experience is that in the world of business ownership, and especially in franchising, that you don't necessarily have to have prior experience to be in that business. The very first time I heard that, I thought, well, how's that working out, right, for franchise businesses? Well, apparently quite well, right? Because if you're too much of a technician, you end up working in the business as opposed to on the business. And once I got that, I realized that, well, then I know that I've got a lot of transferable skills, but now I know I could probably participate in over 80 different industry sectors, maybe even 90, I don't know. But I feel like the world is my oyster. I won't be able to get old enough to be able to capitalize on all the possibilities out there. But it's just a completely different mindset compared to somebody who feels like I have no options. But I couldn't have known that if I would have decided prematurely, hey, Judy, I don't want to work with you because I don't want to waste your time because I am just not an entrepreneur. So I just encourage people, one, absolutely, Judy is right. She'll create a safe space, or our coaches create a safe space for you to explore. And two, approach this with childlike curiosity. You don't know what you don't know. And 95% of our clients who end up in a business end up in something they never would have looked at on their own, or had looked at and prematurely dismissed because of, different limiting beliefs or different factors. So our goal is to help you reach a point of clarity, and it's likely not in a way that you would have thought based on where you're at right now.
Right. And it sounds like you're saying that you're one of those, right? You're somewhere you didn't think you would end up. Had you shut down that initial opportunity, you wouldn't be where you are today. Your career would have been entirely different.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So
I
it sounds
shudder
like
to think about it, actually. So, yeah.
That's right. And I think that is the thing too, is people, you kind of get stuck in the rat race, right? You get stuck in going job to job, or just jumping from the next thing. Cause like you said, it's like, okay, I either have to, be the next mega entrepreneur who has an idea to bring to the world, or I have to be, an employee tied to a desk until I'm 65. Right. And there's, there are options in between that. And I think that's a fantastic point you made, that a lot of people don't think about those options. They don't think about, some of those options that you can help point them to. So, well, I think just to kind of wrap it up, with it being International Women's Day, and in honor of that, do you have any last words of advice, or anything you'd like women to, I think we've gone through a lot of that already, but is there anything kind of as a final point? There's one thing that whoever's listening or watching this, this episode remembers. What is that one thing you'd like to remember? Judy, I'll have you go first.
I guess I'd want them to remember that they're unique, and they have a unique purpose, and they can actually today they can actually become financially secure while they are being great moms or great spouses, um, great business owners. And I don't like to say we can do it all. We all have to use our time wisely and how we serve other people. But being a business owner allows you the power and the freedom to do that. And so it's a great opportunity, and it's worth at least exploring.
Oh gosh, Judy, I couldn't have said that any better, right? My hope is that we can do our part so that everybody can experience what you and I've been able to experience. I mean, number one, we have been granted this wonderful opportunity to be able to do business in a country like ours and participate in the economy the way we do. But I also think it's important to surround ourselves with entrepreneurial minded individuals or people who model what it takes to become self-sufficient. So join our community, come and find out what it's about, and see whether you can feel empowered and lifted yourself too. So
Thank you. Yeah, my wife is a business-minded woman, and I always just tell her that despite me getting on her nerves, that she'll at least please hire me one day when when the time comes, and not to leave me out and hungry. So, no, thank you both for your time, Tamara and Judy. I really appreciate the conversation today. For all of you watching, listening, don't forget about it. The Entrepreneur Source is there to help. There just to explore new options. There's also great organizations within that organization, like Women Empowered by Business, where you can be surrounded by other women who are navigating this entrepreneurial journey. Again, just don't hesitate to reach out. Go to entrepreneursource.com and check them out. And until next time, all the best.